Nestled along a hillside in this New England town lies an estate with a long patch of green, a pastoral, tranquil setting where you can get away from it all. It might be commonplace to see cattle grazing on countryside like this in Newtown, Connecticut. That's not, however, the purpose of this strip of earth. Rather, it's the driveway for an unusual man and his devices. For decades, Robert Edison Fulton and his ideas have taken off and landed on this property. The 90-year-old inventor, artist, and philosopher has tested some of his inventions and introduced some of his creations here. The flying car, rotating fountains, and words of wisdom were conceived here. And why not? In this, the heartland of Yankee ingenuity, many of Fulton's dreams have taken flight. Fulton says it appears it was predestined that his work would have to include inventions.
How could I do anything else with a name like that?
He says he's probably related to Robert Fulton, the artist turned inventor, the man who shrank the world by inventing the steamship. Fulton's dad, Robert Edison Fulton Sr., imported German cars before becoming the president of the Mack Truck Company. His mom came from a family which ran a vast stagecoach operation that became the Greyhound bus lines. Robert Edison Fulton Jr. spent much of his younger years overseas before attending Harvard School of Architecture. In 1932, it was back to Europe. He decided his return trip to America would be through Asia, so he could see grand Eastern architecture.
Well, you can't see much architecture through a porthole in a ship. You don't see much in the Trans-Siberian Railroad. If I went by car, I'd get stuck in a ditch and still be there. But a motorcycle, that's the way to go.
Equipped with a 35mm film camera, Fulton began his trip around the world on a Douglas motorcycle. From England, he rode through Europe, Asia Minor, India, and China before driving through the U.S. to get to New York. In all, he crossed a quarter of the world's countries on the 40,000-mile trip. Fulton saw and filmed a world as it would never be seen again. World wars and technology made certain of that.
In those days, the only kind of people who rode motorcycles were either policemen or bums. I wasn't a policeman.
Nor a bum.
Well, I think I was a bum. So I designed what I figured I'd need in the way of extra gas. That's a 4-gallon tank in addition to the 3-gallon on the front. It gave me 7 gallons of gas. I could go about 500 miles with that. And up on the front, I had a suitcase that fitted on here, and a bedroll on top of that, and my sun helmet on top of that. And this was all I had. That's all I needed. I had to hang on for dear life. Riding across Turkey was all dust, 6 inches of dust. It's like trying to ride on a beach. Have you ever tried to ride a bicycle on a beach, a sandy beach? You got to hang on for dear life. And the same thing went for the motorcycle all the way across Turkey. You walked halfway. These pedals that I have on here, these platforms, I built in Turkey. The original ones were aluminum and they broke. I fell over so many times, it fell off, and they finally got ripped off. So I made these things out of steel. I figured there was a good advantage to traveling alone, that nobody was afraid of you. Everybody looked at you and think, oh, we can handle him. There are 2 of us and there's only 1 of him. So they never gave me any trouble. They were very friendly with me, and they were always warning me about how dangerous it was where I was going next. I better be careful. And when I get to the next place, they'd say, oh, Allah be praised, you're still alive, and you got through those terrible people back there.
After returning to the United States and going on a speaking tour, Fulton became a filmmaker with Pan Am. His eclectic career continued with his invention of the Aero Instructor and gunnery training devices, the predecessors to today's flight simulators. Eventually, the man who comes from generations of transportation giants became enamored with motion. As a pilot with ties to the government, Fulton had access to airports across the country.
When I'd land, I'd call a taxi, and the taxis would say, oh, the airport's too far out of town. We don't have any gasoline. We can't come and get you. You have to thumb a ride. Well, thumbing a ride was difficult enough. I used to look at my airplane and say, well, damn it all, why can't you take me down the road? You have all the components of an automobile. You've got an engine, you've got controls, you've got wheels. You can be steered, and there's no reason you can't get down the road. But the wings and the tail are too big. We'll leave the wings and the tail behind. Just drive the car away from it. And that's how the whole thing came about.
Fulton came up with an idea that may have been ahead of its time. An airplane that could take you from your garage to your hometown airport, into the air to a distant city, and to your hotel room and back. Due to the high cost of certification, however, Fulton sold the concept vehicle just before it received government approval. The airphibian craze was grounded before it could take off. Oh, that's the airphibian, okay. And these are your sons?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Two of my sons.
Two of your other products.
That's right.
All right.
This is Ron.
Hi, Ron. I'm Frank. Boris.
Nice to meet you, Frank.
Hi, Robert. So I take it you're going to show us something here today. You're going to take it apart.
Yeah, we're going to make a car out of an airplane.
All right, let's see you do it.
All right. All set?
The ignition key takes the propeller off, and then this thing is built in there. There's a wrench.
As you watch Fulton removing the propeller, you must remind yourself that he's in his 90th year, a fact that doesn't seem to slow him down.
Takes that long to take the propeller off.
After just a couple of minutes, the metamorphosis is complete.
You have the two rudder pedals become the clutch and the brake. This is the foot throttle, this is the hand throttle, and this is the ailerons this way, and this is the elevators. This drives the wheels. It just drives like a regular car. I got arrested on a number of occasions. I went to Erie, Pennsylvania and got arrested for flying too low. And I said, "What do you mean driving too low?" He said, "Well, here you are on Main Street with an airplane, so you're flying too low."
Only 8 airphibians were built. This one belongs to the Smithsonian Institute, which had it since the late 1950s. The Fultons have restored it and hope to fulfill the father's dream.
And the idea is that if we get it into perfect antique status, I think we could attract several orders. And I wouldn't just manufacture them basically out of nowhere, but we'd build them on an order-to-order basis. But in order to do that, we need a perfect display model.
In 1952, after the airphibian concept crashed, another Fulton idea left the ground. The Skyhook allowed for long-range pickup of servicemen trapped behind enemy lines. The invention would serve the country and Fulton well. Fulton employed a number of people in his Danbury factory during the Skyhook's heyday. It's not unheard of to find the combination of inventor and artist in the same person, as though an uncontrollable spirit guides them and compels them to create.
I enjoy doing it. Pressure of the water makes it move. It comes out of those little holes and that drives it around.
Fulton's creations also include an air chair for the handicapped that fits down airplane aisles, and music for the deaf through rhythmic light shows. Inventions to include more people into the richness of the world we live in. Fulton doesn't consider himself an American hero. He will be the first to tell you he was born into fortunate circumstances. His daring and willingness to take risks, however, prove he drove, propelled, and flew forward, testing his limits.
Life is an incredible adventure, and if you know the answer to the adventure, it ceases to be an adventure. It just becomes a daily routine thing. So taking the risk didn't bother me at all.
It's clear the experiences of Fulton the Wanderer have influenced his art. He's put his thoughts on film, video, and in books. Books, of course, that he printed himself. Included in the published volumes is Winds of Life, a book of philosophical prose. How could one man do so much in one lifetime? Fulton says the story of our lives is based on what we do with our time. He warns against letting material things bankrupt our time banks. He's working on a 10th decade of life already brimming with accomplishments. His sons say they still have difficulty keeping up with the man. Fulton has been on the move all his life. It's in his blood. For Fulton, movement is life.
When I behold the incredible universe the Lord has spread before me, if I cannot find ways to be pleased with it, how can I expect Him to be pleased with me?